The defamation trial between Amber Heard and Johnny Depp seems to be getting more and more interesting as the days go by. Recently, a new witness has come out to expose Amber Heard for stealing her victim story. So who is this witness? What exactly did she say? Amber Heard's former personal assistant has accused the actor of stealing her own experience of being a victim of sexual violence and twisting it into a different story. Kate James said she had been the victim of rape in Brazil when she was in her 20s, and that the experience had haunted her ever since. And when she read Heard's submissions, James said, "To my utter shock and dismay, I discovered that Ms. Heard had in fact stolen my sexual violence conversation with her and twisted it into her own story to benefit herself. This has of course caused me extreme distress and outrage that she would dare to attempt to use the most harrowing experience of my life as her own narrative." James told the court that although she had been subpoenaed to give evidence, she was doing so because she is a sexual violence survivor, and it's very serious to take that stance if you are not one. She was then questioned by David Sherborne, who asked, "Can you explain why you take exception to Ms. Heard's allegations against Depp?" To which James answered, "Because Ms. Heard referred to a conversation we had about me being violently raped at Machete Point in Brazil, and she used it as her own story. She referred directly to a violent rape that occurred to me 26 years ago, and she twisted it into her own story that she used for her own use." During her testimony, James also revealed that she served as Heard's assistant between 2012 and 2015 and accused the actress of being abusive. James mentioned that Heard hired her as a part-time employee for $25 per hour, which was half her usual rate, despite coming to the role with 10 years of experience. She alleged that the job became a full-time position 6 months later, but Heard refused to negotiate James's salary to $50,000 a year. The former assistant also alleged that Heard spat in her face during the negotiation and that a handyman who witnessed the incident was left mortified and embarrassed with Heard's actions. She leapt up out of her chair, put her face 4 inches from my face, spitting in my face, telling me how dare I ask the salary I was asking for. She felt that gave her the right to spit in my face. James also shared that one time, Heard went into a blind rage after she found some magazines lying around her house, which the former was supposed to store in the garage. She went absolutely ballistic, screaming, yelling abuse. "It was a blind rage," she said. As if that's not enough, James also recalled that Heard would often scream over the phone and subject her to barrages of abusive text messages day and night. The middle of the night, I think, between 2 and 4 a.m., the barrage would start. All incoherent, not making sense, just someone to lash out at, no apparent reason to it. Kate James also claimed that Amber Heard abused her own family, treated her sister like a dog you kick, and then left her own mother terrified with her behavior. She further stated that the actress took the Provigil sleeping aid and that the side effects of the medicine sent her into having a manic episode. It was similar to if somebody was on some sort of amphetamine drug, moving very fast, hyper-organizing, hyper-tasking, just very, very hyper. James also alleged that Heard had told her that she had taken mushrooms, ecstasy, and cocaine, and said that the Aquaman star became more and more belligerent and abusive when she was intoxicated. Later on, while speaking with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's problems, James mentioned that the latter often cried and complained about the insecurities in their relationship. She remembered that Heard once called her in a very dysregulated state while roaming around the streets of New York around 2012 or 2013. "I don't recall when it started," she said. "Usually her complaining and crying due to insecurities within the relationship. She would be very, very insecure a lot of the time and call me up crying." James also said that Heard never told her anything about Depp being physically abusive towards her. She further testified that she never saw Heard with any injuries, cuts, bruises, swelling, or redness of the face, black eyes, or clumps of hair torn out of her head. The former assistant also mentioned that Amber Heard did not like the crowd that Depp hung out with. She told me she didn't like hanging out at his house with his friends because it was boring and they were all old men playing guitars and it wasn't interesting to her. James also shared her statement about a day in May 2014 when Heard flew to Los Angeles from Boston. The latter has alleged that Depp was supposedly abusive and drunk towards her during the fight. However, James expressed her doubts about Amber Heard's story and claimed that the actress went to the Chateau Marmont Hotel to spend time with friends instead of returning home following her arrival in LA. When asked about her impression of Depp, James said he was peaceful, almost shy, very quiet, and called him a total Southern gentleman. She never saw him lose his temper, and he was always completely passive. She used to chat with him, but James said she would stop immediately when Amber saw her talking to him and would give her the evil eye. James also shared that Depp even gave her then 4-year-old son guitar lessons, bought him gifts from their vacations, and even played with him in his elaborate prosthetic makeup for his 2015 film Black Mass. James, who was born in Australia, was hired by Heard after she got back from her wedding on Depp's private island, claiming her mother was sick and she couldn't afford to pay her anymore. When questioned by Benjamin Rottenborn, James said that the job with Heard was not really in my caliber because she worked with high-profile celebrities and hadn't heard of her before. She agreed with Rottenborn when he asked if she was doing Heard a favor by taking the job. She then revealed that it was only because it was billed as 20 hours a week and Heard let her pick up her 4-year-old son Max at 3 p.m. each day that she took the gig. James was then asked when she first became aware all wasn't right in the relationship between Heard and Depp, to which she replied, "I don't recall when it started. Usually her complaining and crying due to insecurities within the relationship. She would be very, very insecure a lot of the time and call me up crying." She then revealed the time Heard called her while walking around the streets of New York in a very dysregulated state, and James told her to get inside so paparazzi didn't get a picture of her. Rottenborn then proceeded to ask her if Heard ever told her Depp had hit her, and James replied by saying no. She also added that she never saw any damage to Depp's apartment either. Meanwhile, fans have been calling out Amber for stealing Kate's victim story. It takes a special kind of person to listen to Kate's story, pretend to be a friend, and sympathize in the moment, feign interest, and then memorize the story and publicly regurgitate bits of it back to the media when it most suits them. And also oath and under to get back at an ex-husband who dared to leave, one who had previously lavished expensive gifts on you and connected you to important people to get ahead in your career, one fan wrote. Someone like Amber is very dangerous. She gets people to trust her and become vulnerable, and in that vulnerability become victims. By the time they know who she really is, it's too late, another fan added, while a third fan simply wrote, "This is so disturbing." But now, we would love to hear from you. What are your thoughts on Amber being accused of stealing her former assistant's story? Let us know in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed watching this video, be sure to check out our other video about how Amber is likely to face prison time in the UK. Thanks for watching!